I'm far more interested in a conversation with a reform voter on economics because I think a lot of people gravitate to reform because of the immigration stuff. Maybe they do have issues with immigration or that they're a bit concerned about things, and then they have to sort of fall in line also with their economic policy, which I don't think everyone is like. This goes back to what I was saying about being stingently left and stingently right. Well, I think you can be a sort of, sometimes I consider myself left-wing economic, but I am actually conservative in some of my more sort of cultural beliefs. And I think a lot of reform voters don't necessarily agree with the economics of reform, which is what is really, really dangerous in my mind. This is one of the things that I'm most scared about if they come into government. Mm.
And I think a lot of people, and Farage is going to do well with that because he has this cult of personality. But also, people are not voting on policies, unfortunately, they're voting on personalities. And as you said, the economic policies of reform are, well, like Brexit, cuts to the government, cuts to regulations that are there to protect people, protect the environment, protect workers. They voted against measures to improve the situation for workers. Andrea Jenkins today was talking about how she hates trade unions. Like, this is not somebody who's on the side of workers. Somebody who's on the side of workers will be encouraging people to join a trade union because there's strength in numbers. But
But I
instead,
don't think a lot of reform voters really know about their economic policy.
no,
And this goes back to what I think we should be doing as
commentate.
commentators on the left is just pushing a clear, concise message about reform's economic policy. You may be sympathetic to their immigration stuff, but do you actually understand what a reform government would do to the NHS, to council fundings would be absolutely stripped. All these things basically turning this country into what you see in the US, just pure free market capitalism unleashed, a dog eat dog world, just the survival of the fittest. I mean, that's what I see a reform government being, and that scares the living crap out of me. And I think that should scare the living crap out of maybe some reform voters that do have problems with immigration, but don't want to see their NHS stripped. Don't want to see our towns and cities turn into what we see in the US. I don't know whether you've ever seen any of these videos of Philadelphia, Kensington Avenue, and stuff. Basically, these tent cities that are
Yes.
just drug havens, just zombie land. I see that happening with a reform government. I see that happening over here. If the NHS is stripped, I mean, literally, the NHS, I think, is the only thing that's stopping our towns and cities turning into those drug zombie lands because at least people actually have access to healthcare.